Mentors. We are all shaped by our society. No man is an island. We all learn from each other. These are the teachers who helped shape my life for the better. Joan Condon. Mrs. Condon was my English teacher. She had a sparkle for life. I remember one day a student played on a record player all over the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. She led a beautiful discussion on lyrics, which I still remember today. She was innovative in her teaching style. It was fun and entertaining to go to her class. Betty Topalia. Mrs. Capallian was my poetry teacher in my senior year. She taught me the love of poetry. I remember one day we had an assignment to read a poem. I found a spiritual poem and read it to the class. She asked me what it means, and I said it was self-explanatory. To be honest, I had no clue. She knew that and was kind enough not to go further. She inspired me to look at ways that are different in society. There is a world where words come from, will come up to the surface to be a creative force for mankind. She helped me to dive deep to discover the pearls of life. Bob Wentz. What can I say about Bob Wentz? He was a figurehead in Newport Harbor for many years. He was my speech teacher. He thought outside of the box. Nick Roth and I had to give a speech together. We asked Mr. Wentz if we could do a talk on surfing at the beach. He said yes. He somehow managed to arrange a bus to take students to Newport Pier where Nick and I did a surfing demonstration and a talk on surfing. He really cared about his students and would do things out of the ordinary. Julia Smart. Julia was my culinary arts teacher. Wow, what can I say? She taught me by following a recipe you can make anything you want. This opened me up to the world of cooking. I never took two and two together. Since then, my passion for ethnic food has skyrocketed. It has opened up many new doors. My cooking partner was Scott Adams, a neighbor for many years. We had a lot of fun cooking together. I still remember the good times. Jim Hensley. Mr. Hensley was a surfer and teacher at a high school. I remember surfing at Huntington Pier one day, and I saw Mr. Hensley swimming to shore. It was quite a big day. I said, "Hi, Mr. Hensley. Do you need any help?" He said, "Yes." So we slowly paddled to shore in my longboard. We made it to shore, and then I paddled out again. The waves were quite good that day. About 6 months later, my mom bumps into Mr. Hensley and said, "Your son saved my life. Without him, I would have drowned." I nonchalantly didn't think anything at the time.
First grade, Mrs. Ireland. I will always remember Mrs. Ireland. My dad, for a short time, worked with her husband. I remember going to a restaurant with our family, and the Irelands joined us. I learned that she had a pet ocelot. That was way cool. I got my love for reading from her. She made it fun and exciting. I have loved reading ever since then. The first book she gave us was Cat in the Hat. I remember she asked the class, "Does anyone know this word, trick?" I was the only one in the class that knew this word. I think that boosted my confidence level to a higher level. I was hooked on learning. Second grade, Mrs. Werner. One day, our classmate homemade butter. Mrs. Werner made the entire class try the butter. I remember Paul Cohen tasted the butter and didn't like it. I still remember his wiping the butter on his pants, so he didn't have to eat the butter. Sixth grade, Mr. Walker. I loved Mr. Walker. He made learning fun. He had quite the sense of humor. I remember him treating us as young adults. He helped me to get interested in all sorts of subjects. The class had great dynamics. Everyone helped bring a unique perspective to the table. We were still quite young, but our personalities were quite defined. I remember being quite curious about life. I definitely have fond memories of this class. Seventh grade. This was quite a dynamic class. Nick Roth and Roman Beck were incredible surfers. They were so far ahead of the times. Rest in peace, dear Mark Ernst. Good old Tom Neumeyer. I have fond memories of Carol Beek. Whatever happened to Randy Ivy and Monty Grimes? Haven't heard anything in over 48 years. I see Pam Scobacasa's post on Facebook. There's Gary Hill. I loved his zest for life. Tom Neely is another I haven't seen or heard from. In 7th grade, I started to learn how to surf. The rest is history.
Joan Condon. Mrs. Condon was my English teacher. She had a sparkle for life. I remember one day a student played on the record player All Over the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. She led a beautiful discussion on the lyrics, which I still remember today. She was innovative in her teaching style. It was fun and entertaining to go to her class. Betsy Capallian. Mrs. Capallian was my poetry teacher in my senior year. She taught me the love of poetry. I remember one day we had an assignment to read a poem. I found a spiritual quote and read it to the class. She asked me what it meant, and I said it was self-explanatory. To be honest, I had no clue. She knew that and was kind not to go further. She inspired me to look at ways that are different from society. There is the world where words come up to the surface to be a creative force for mankind. She helped me to dive deep to discover the pearls of life.
Betty Topalia, poetry assignment. I remember one day, Mrs. Capallian gave us an assignment. We were to find a poem that we liked and had to read it to the class. I just started to learn how to meditate. I chose this incredible Eastern poem. I don't remember the name of it. Somehow I gravitated to it. I didn't know its meaning. Anyway, all the students gave their readings. It was my turn to read the poem. I read the poem, and my teacher asked if I could critique the poem. I said it was self-explanatory. To be honest, it was at such a deep level. I didn't have the life experience to say anything. She has such great compassion. She didn't press me on it. Most teachers wouldn't let you get away so easily. Yet, a seed was planted, and she didn't crush the seed. Years later, I loved to ponder life and its meanings. I often wondered how my life would be if she was a typical teacher who had her rules. If you don't follow them exactly, you will feel the consequences. To this day, I am grateful. She had great intuition and saw my struggle. She gave me inspiration to follow my dreams. That is what a teacher is all about. I'm still learning the powers of words in my everyday life. I feel so honored to have such a teacher.
Bob Wentz. What can I say about Bob Wentz? He was a figurehead at Newport Harbor for many years. He was my speech teacher. He thought outside of the box. Nick Ross and I had to give a speech together. We asked Mr. Wentz if we could do a talk on surfing at the beach. He said yes. He somehow managed to arrange a bus to take the students to Newport Pier, where Nick and I did a surfing demonstration and a talk on surfing. He really cared about his students and would do things out of the ordinary. Julia, smart. Julia was my culinary arts teacher. Well, what can I say? She taught me by following a recipe. You can make anything you want. This opened me up to the world of cooking. I never took two and two together. Since then, my passion for ethnic food cooking has skyrocketed. It has opened up so many new doors. My cooking partner was Scott Abbott, a neighbor for many years. We all loved fun cooking together. I still remember the good times.
Eleanor Hodges. During the summer of my senior year, my brother and I went on an adventure to South America. You could read about this journey in this book. We came back to school 3 weeks late. Anyway, I was quite proficient in speaking Spanish, yet I almost failed her class. She gave me a passing grade due to her great heart. I remember a fellow classmate who came from Mexico, and she failed the class. To be honest, at this point in time, I began to see the nonsense of our school systems. A person learns a language so one can go to a different country and speak and have conversations with different cultures. I clearly did that. I was proud of what I did. Yet, we spend so much time on rote learning and take the fun out of the picture. For me, I can't learn if I'm not having fun. Humor is an incredible way for humans to learn anything. I like my teacher. I just think as young adults, the school system needs to change how we teach.
Jim Hensley. Mr. Hensley was a surfer and a teacher at our high school. I remember serving at Huntington Pier one day, and I see Mr. Hensley swimming to shore. It was quite a big day. I said, "Hi, Mr. Hensley. Do you need any help?" He said yes. So we slowly paddled to shore on my longboard. We made it to shore. Then I paddled out again. The waves were quite good that day. About 6 months later, my mom bumps into Mr. Hensley and said, "Your son saved my life. Without him, I would have drowned." I nonchalantly didn't think anything at the time.
Gerald Noser, algebra teacher. Mr. Noser was an incredible teacher. I loved algebra. He made it so fascinating. It was a challenge, but my mind loved it. He had an incredible teaching style that made you understand the concepts. They say you like either algebra or geometry. I can truly say I loved algebra. Coach Bob Haley, biology teacher. Wow. What can I say about Mr. Haley? He was my track coach and biology teacher. I still remember him saying that he would rather have his athletes drinking beer than soda. He would say, your breath, you breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Sodas contain carbon dioxide. I'll never forget that statement. It was quite profound for its time. I loved biology. Crystal and I would go to the library before school and study our biology homework. Mr. Haley made it fun and interesting. Rest in peace, Mr. Haley. Coach Robert Donald. Mr. Donald was my cross-country and track coach. To be honest, our workout was grueling. At that time, the smog was horrible in California. After each workout, my lungs were burning. You could say he had a hard style of coaching. It wasn't easy by a long shot. Yet, he had a heart of gold. He cared a lot about you. During my junior year, I opted out of track and cross country. He came to my house to try to change my mind. I didn't budge, but I was glad that he cared about me. I saw him once again many moons ago when I came back from India. He was running and he stopped and we chatted for a while. Great man. I truly respect him. Carol Detrow. Mrs. Detrow was a teacher who taught outside of the box. I loved her teaching style. 48 years later, I still remember her. We had incredible class discussions. The Vietnam War was going on. Tensions were in the air. I never had a teacher who discussed critical issues of the day. It was like a college class. I have nothing but great respect for her.
My first girlfriend. Before I met Anna Carney, I never had a true girlfriend. During my high school years, I had a hard time with the way we operate in society. For example, many of my friends would see a beautiful girl and say, "Wow, I wish I could get laid by her." They would compliment a girl by her breast size or judge someone who was overweight. I guess I saw life different as my friends. I knew this life was sacred. I knew that to know God wasn't to go to church on Sunday for an hour. then the rest of the week you can do anything you want. Knowing God isn't a token. You just don't unconsciously go through the motion. It's a moment by moment, day by day, year by year affair. At times I was quite lonely in high school. All my friends had girlfriends, yet I never did. Girls liked me, but nothing ever developed. I think I only went on 2 dates in high school. I realized that loneliness was my soul was calling out to me. At times, it seemed something external will fill the loneliness, but it never will. The cup must be filled from within. Being young, I didn't know that. I first met Anna in an ashram in Mexico City. She was from Ireland. Anna definitely caught my attention. She was on the same wavelength as me. She loved to meditate. She was fun and loved adventure and life. Anna had a great heart and soul. She was funny, she was smart, and she had wisdom. Also, she loved to cook. Anna was kind. She had the maturity and understanding that life is sacred. So over time, we fell in love. I remember once I needed to renew my visa for Mexico. Anna and I took a train to Guatemala. I still remember at the border crossing, this American boy around 10 years old with a beautiful parrot on his shoulder. My first thought was this boy already knows about life. I can sense that traveling was his education. We spent a week or 2 in Guatemala. I always will remember Lake Atilan. What a beautiful lake. The lake is surrounded by mountains and volcanoes. I love the Mayan people. They were short. Most of them were under 5 feet tall. Most of all, they were happy and content. They came from an incredible lineage. The Mayans at some point in time developed calendars that made the Gregorian calendar look primitive. Yet, we think they were ignorant and lived in the Stone Age. Anna and I visited Kali's mom. She had a house in Baja California. Along the way, we stopped off at Matachim Bay. This bay was well known since the 60s. On a good day, you could ride away for almost a mile. The only drawback is at sunset and sunrise, the Noseans came out by the millions. One day we took a walk up the point, past the bay. At some point, both of us realized that we should turn around. We couldn't quite pinpoint it. We turned around and started to walk back to Matachim Bay. Well, we were right to turn around. As soon as we were walking, a bullet whizzed so close we could hear it. We didn't turn around, but slowly walked away. At some point, Anna and I thought we were going to get married. It is a custom in Ireland that the man asks the father's daughter for his hand in marriage. So I did. Anna went back to Ireland to visit her family. We were going to meet in Toronto, Canada in a month. I remember Anna comes to Toronto when we're staying at this elderly couple's house. She made this dumpling soup that I still remember today. It was the best dumplings I ever had. We met Richard from White Rock, British Columbia. He was driving back home and said we could travel with him if we liked. We did. I remember traveling at night and an avalanche occurred as we were passing. We were at the right place and right time. If we were off by 30 seconds, we would have been covered in snow. We ran into Mahatma Rajeshwar and Bill Patterson. They were going to do a TV interview and asked us if we wanted to come. We spent a few days there. Bill gave me a copy of a book about Milarepa. He was Tibet's greatest yogi. The Kagyu lineage still exists today, and in fact in Ashland, Oregon, there is a beautiful temple that comes from the Kagyu lineage. Bill unfortunately died about 10 years ago. He was well known for his kindness. We made it to British Columbia. We stayed at Dr. Michael Clapper's house. He has been on the cutting edge of health for over 40 years. Mahatma Rajeshwar and Bill Patterson came to visit our house. We made this incredible Indian meal for Canada's Thanksgiving. Bill showed me how to put chapatis in the oven to puff up. It was a beautiful technique. Anna and I moved to White Rock. It's right on the border of US and Canada. It borders Semiahmoo Bay. I remember walking home with Anna late at night when it was snowing. It was so peaceful. I used to play chess with the elderly man next door. He loved my company. Anna and I went to Vancouver Island with a friend of mine named Richard. He wanted to try out surfing. We went to Wreck Beach. The waves were quite fun. The water was cold. A friend of ours had a nice sauna that we used to heat up. At some point, Anna decides to move to Nelson, British Columbia. Quite frankly, I felt lost for a while. I really didn't have the maturity and life experience to cope with this. You can't put your happiness and love into someone else without having that inside of you. Nobody can fill you up. I learned that you can't hold on to something forever. Everything changes. Our relationship was never the same. I spent about 6 months in Nelson, British Columbia. We stayed in a beautiful cabin built from a friend of ours. Bill Scholl, his wife and son lived there. Nelson was an incredible place. I loved the town and people. Many of the folks were involved in meditation in one way or another. The first time I ever saw fireflies was in Nelson. I was captivated by the flashing of the lights. We love going to Nelson's hot springs. It's a natural hot springs for many different temperature pools. It was a great place to go and relax with your friends. Back then, it was real cheap in getting in. One of my favorite moments was going to Kootenay Bay for a 3-day adventure with Anna. We took this ferry to this island. I remember having French bread and breech tea along with a little white wine. The ferry ride was gorgeous. Mountains were all around the lake and the water was crystal clear. During my stay in Nelson, I met someone who went to the J. Victor Scheer Academy of Natural Healing in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I decided to move there. Anna moved to Gainesville, Florida. We met up in California about a year later. Anna was still living in Florida. I was still living in New Mexico. I introduced Anna to my mom and dad. I remember my dad made homemade gazpacho soup. It was served cold. Anna and I made an Indian meal for my mom. During this trip, Anna and I went by car to Nevada City to visit my grandmother Josie. I love my grandmother. That was the last time I ever saw her. Anna and I never got together. The last time I saw her was over 30 years ago. We had lunch at a Chinese restaurant in Miami Beach. I remember having wonton soup. I have fond memories of Anna. Anna has been happily married since 1997. I'm happy that she has found someone special in her life. Thanks, Anna, for being a part of my life. Mark and Geraldine Lornhurst. I first met Mark at the festival in Montrose. He was only around 15 or 16 years old at the time. Mark came with his friend Joe Lopez. He helped with the security at the festival. Both my brother and I bonded with Mark. We have been friends ever since. Both my brother and I have both stayed for an extended time at Mark's family house during the 70s. His parents made us a part of their family. I still remember a dish that Mark made for dinner. It was broccoli and shredded Jarlsberg cheese. It was delicious. Mark was one of those people who helped me get involved in computers. At that time, he was going to school and he was studying computer science. Both Mark and I lived for a short time in the ashram in New York. Mark's parents were smart enough to say, "We will support you in your studies so you can get a degree." Wise choice. I saw Mark on and off during the 80s. In 1982, I went to New York City for a business trip and stayed at their house for a week. One morning, I made the kids, Rachel and Christopher, pancakes. 35 years later, whenever my name is mentioned, Rachel speaks about my pancakes. Mark is like a brother to my brother and I. We have known him for around 46 years. Mark is kind and extremely generous. I would say he has a heart of gold. I first met Geraldine in New York City in 1976. I knew a few of her friends. Mark's mom was a psychologist. One of her best friends was also a psychologist. Geraldine was mentored by her, and over time, she was an incredible counselor. She had the insight from her practice of meditation and a keen sense of intuition to her clients. She eventually had clients all throughout the States. Geraldine helped me when my marriage broke up. She taught there are two sides of the stories. Don't be a victim and learn a lesson from it. She also taught to take out the weeds in your own garden, another wise advice. Mark and Geraldine have been together for over 40 years. They have been friends of mine for many years. I truly treasure them. They are one of my jewels in life. Words truly can't describe the love I have for the both of them.